Hi everyone, welcome to my Game Week 30 top tips video. It's been a long international break. I've completely forgotten about FPL, but it's time to refresh now. With so much things going on like injuries, suspensions, wildcards getting popped off, in this video, I've got you covered. I've got 4 things you need to know before the upcoming deadline. Number 4 in particular is very important. You're going to want to stick around for that. And if this sounds good to you, do me a favor, drop a like and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. The first thing you're going to need to know before the upcoming FPL deadline is the FA Cup results and the implications, what they mean for our FPL season. Now, I'll explain to you what I mean by this. First of all, let's have a look at the quarterfinal fixtures and results, starting with Fulham versus Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, very impressive, 3-0 win away at Craven Cottage. I did not see that coming. So Crystal Palace through to the next round. Brighton versus Nottingham Forest, not the most exciting game, very tight. Went to penalties where Nottingham Forest won in the end. They continued their very impressive season. Preston versus Aston Villa. This looks like it was a thrashing, a comfortable victory, where it wasn't, to be fair. Preston were in the game until Villa scored the first and then the collapse sort of started. And the last fixture was Bournemouth versus Manchester City. City managed to get the win. It was a close game, very entertaining game, but City are through, so we still have a giant in the FA Cup for the semi-finals. Now, these are the results, but what does it actually mean for FPL and the remainder of the season? Well, let's talk about the implications. The first thing we need to look at is Crystal Palace and Arsenal will blank in game week 34. This game will likely move to game week 33, so Arsenal and Crystal Palace will have a double in game week 33. Crystal Palace will now play Bournemouth at home and Arsenal away. Arsenal, I just said a minute ago, they will have a double in 33. They will play Ipswich away and Crystal Palace at home. A lovely double for us to target. And we're going to talk more about this later on when we discuss wildcard teams. This means though, Arsenal will blank in 34. And Manchester City and Aston Villa both double in 33. Man City will play Everton and Aston Villa, while Villa will play Newcastle and Man City. So that's a lot of information to take in, but I've got a visual which should hopefully make it easier to digest. In this table here, I've got all the doubles and blanks in the upcoming game weeks. There's going to be more around 36 and 37, but for now, I'm just focusing on the nearest upcoming ones. So let's start with Arsenal. In game week 32, they have a standard fixture versus Brentford at home, and then they've got a double in 33 with Ipswich away, Crystal Palace at home. They blank in 34. Aston Villa have Southampton away, lovely fixture, and then have Newcastle at home, Man City away. Not the best double, but still a double. Then they blank in 34. Crystal Palace have a double-double. So in 32, they have Man City away, Newcastle away. Not the best doubles, I'll be honest there. But then in 33, they have Bournemouth away and Arsenal away. Again, not the best doubles, but to be a double-double, I mean, that's incredible. And I, for one, will be there. I will be looking to triple up. But listen, I'm going to give you more information when I show you a potential wildcard team. So stick around for that. Manchester City, Crystal Palace at home for 32, and then a double in 33, Everton and Aston Villa. Blank in 34. Newcastle, they have a double in 32 in Manchester United at home and Crystal Palace at home. A single fixture against Aston Villa in 33, and they don't blank in 34, which is a bit different. They've got Ipswich at home, which is a nice fixture. Now, this information definitely needs to be used in your upcoming transfers and, more importantly, your chip strategy. So if you still have your wild card, you might want to use it in game week 30, 31, 32, where you can bring in players from these teams that have doubles. So you want to maximize on those. And then if you have the free hit, for example, you might want to use it in game week 34, because if you're loading up on these players from 32, 33, then they blank, you're not going to have many players and you might not have enough transfers for you to fix that. So a free hit could easily be used in 34. Or you could use your free hit more aggressively and use it in 33, where you wildcard, prepare your team for 32 and 34, and you free hit in 33 to bring in all of these players, the maximum players for these doubles, and you don't want them for the remainder of the weeks. So there's definitely other strategies and other ways to play this. You're going to want to start looking at your team and playing around with different permutations. One other thing we need to take note is that the game week 33 fixtures are still not set in stone. We should hopefully get this information before the deadline for game week 31, maybe even earlier. But these projections are pretty solid and we're more than comfortable in predicting these fixtures in these game weeks. The second thing you're going to need to know is regarding suspensions and injuries. Now, we've just had a long international break where loads of players from your squads are playing all over the world. They've come back to their teams and gone straight into quarter-final FA Cup fixtures where we potentially picked up more injuries and suspensions. Now let's run through this. Let's talk the suspensions first. Who remembers Cunha? Turning to the Kung Fu Master, yes, he's still suspended to April the 13th. The second one is Gordon. Now, he's quite an important one because a lot of people will be wildcarding, and we spoke earlier on regarding Newcastle having those doubles, and he's a player a lot of us might want to bring in, but please bear in mind, he is still suspended until the 7th of April. Now, they're the two important players regarding suspensions. Let's talk about upcoming suspensions. Now, if you get 10 yellow cards in the Premier League, there's another threshold, you'll miss a game. So I've highlighted 3 players which are quite important in upcoming weeks, or they're highly owned. So let's start with Semenyo, for example. Bournemouth, flying, having a great season. He's a cheap, excellent attacking asset, but he is on 9 yellow cards. So bear that in mind, he could miss a game soon. Rodgers, another player who's having an outstanding season, might still be popular in wildcard teams as Aston Villa have doubles. He's on 8 yellow cards. The same with Burn, the Carling Cup hero. Yes, he has 8 yellow cards. He will be popular in wildcards as well, so bear that in mind when you bring in players like this. Next, let's talk about injured players. Now, there's quite a lot here. I've tried to cover the important, highly owned players that you're more than likely to have in your team or considering bringing in. Let's start with Chris Wood, a player who's having a great season. As I said, highly owned, but did not play in the FA Cup quarter-final win against Brighton. Now, Nuno gave an update and said it doesn't sound good. He's got a hip problem, they've sent him for a scan. He didn't give us the full diagnosis, but he just said it doesn't sound good. And for him to not even be in the squad, and when you consider the next fixture is only 3 or 4 days away, he doesn't sound like he's going to be ready for that fixture. But of course, wait for more information. You might get lucky. The deadline is on Tuesday. You still have a couple of days to get more information, but it just doesn't sound good, and he's a vital player for a lot of people. The next one is incredible. Now we're talking Haaland. This is a player I bought in last game week. Loads of managers did, with the thinking that he's got an excellent fixture this game week, which is Leicester. Only for him to come off against Bournemouth in the FA Cup and to be seen on crutches at the end of the game. So it's a really frustrating injury. As I said, a lot of us were thinking about captaining him against Leicester. Now we're not even sure if he's going to start. The third player I want to talk about is Palmer, still highly owned. I know he's been stinking up the place recently, and he even missed the Arsenal fixture before the international break. A lot of us still held him in our squads over the international break. The good news is he's back in full training. Now, this doesn't guarantee he's going to start against Tottenham, but definitely much more positive than before when he wasn't even training and had a scan. Trent, he's been in the news for all the wrong reasons. Apparently, he's joined Real Madrid, he's given him his word, but we're not going to worry about that. We're going to talk about him in regards to FPL. Now, he picked up a bad injury. Remember that fixture where he fell awkwardly? He's not played since then. As far as I know, he's not even been training. We've not had a lot of updates, but the last update we did get from Slot where it was he should be back before the end of the season, which isn't very promising. Hopefully we get more recent updates from Slot in the press conference to tell us where Trent is with regards to coming back. And lastly, Mateta, who suffered that hideous injury about 3 weeks ago playing Millwall, where he got kicked in his head and had loads of stitches near his ear and he had to come off straight away. Well, the good news is he played in this FA Cup victory against Fulham, played around 70 minutes, so he seems fully fit. I mean, he was a bit rusty in that fixture, but that doesn't really matter. The most important thing is Crystal Palace have doubles coming up and their main striker, Mateta, is fully fit to go. The third thing you should know before the upcoming deadline is to do with wildcards. Now, loads of managers will be wildcarding in the upcoming game weeks, and especially if you're thinking about wildcarding game week 30, this is what my team would look like if I was wildcarding this game week. Now, I wasn't considering wildcarding if I'm honest with you, but with the injury to Haaland, that might push me and I might just go for it. And I'm going to explain to you how I've ended up with this team. I'm going to run you through it and tell you some of my thoughts and why I've brought these players in. So first of all, as you can see, I've got double Arsenal defense. I've gone for Raya and Gabriel. Me personally, I don't think Arsenal's given up on the Premier League just yet. Loads of people think they're only going to focus on Real Madrid. I don't think so yet. I think Arsenal will continue to stay strong, especially in defense for the remainder of the season. Of course, in the upcoming game weeks, if that changes, of course, I'll have to adjust using my free transfers. But for now, I'm banking on Arsenal still committing and going full power, because I mean, to be honest, even second place might not be guaranteed if they take their foot off the pedal. Triple Crystal Palace and triple Newcastle, and you know that's to do with the upcoming doubles we discussed earlier. Apart from the upcoming doubles, Crystal Palace actually have a nice entry point. They play Southampton away, which is a gorgeous fixture, and having these three players here just looks perfect for this game. Vardiol, again, a perfect fixture versus Leicester, but more importantly, they've got lovely doubles coming up in game week 33. Milenkovic is an interesting one. I wanted some coverage of the Nottingham Forest defence, but you could argue I could swap him for, say, an Aston Villa defender who does have a double to increase my doublers in my team. So for now, he could change, but part of me thinks Nottingham Forest are just having an incredible season. They've got great fixtures. I think there's a lot of clean sheets there, and with someone like him, maybe even a couple of attacking returns. Mohamed Salah, I mean, that's self-explanatory. This guy would return even in a blank game week, so he had to be in my team. Kluivert and Palmer are both interesting ones. Both don't have doubles, but have good fixtures coming up. They're both penalty takers. I mean, I know Palmer, as I said earlier on, been stinking up the place recently, but he's there and his money is set aside that I've got transfers. I could move him to Saka if Saka's fully fit by game week 33. That would make my triple Arsenal for the doubles. So the thinking there is to leave the money in Palmer, watch Saka in an upcoming game week, see if his fitness is ready, and if he's looking like he's going to start the doubles in game week 33, I could move Palmer to him. Marmoush gives me the City coverage and a potential captain coverage as well, with Haaland being out. Obviously, we're still waiting on the Haaland information. And then Isak, I mean, another player that's self-explanatory. Even if he didn't have the doubles, he's flying this season, has to be in my team. I've got Areola for my second goalkeeper. So when I bench boost, at least I've got a goalkeeper that plays. You could, if you've got enough budget, increase that to a goalkeeper that doubles. So when you bench boost, you're getting maximum points. Now, obviously, if I'm wildcarding, I've got the doubles in my mind. I fully want to attack the upcoming game weeks, but I want to make sure I've got maximum doubles. And in game week 32, as you can see on the screen, I would have 6 players, triple Crystal Palace and triple Newcastle. This would be perfect and it's got huge potential. Yes, the doubles might not be perfect, but as FPL managers, whenever there's a double, without a doubt, we get stuck in it. And when you've got a wild card, you've got the opportunity to get the best triple up from both teams. And in this case here, I'm more than happy. Yes, budget constraints do impact me. For example, I wouldn't have Murphy, I'd prefer Gordon, but I'm not sure I can free up the money unless I got rid of someone like Palmer. So I'd be nicely set for game week 32's Newcastle and Crystal Palace's doubles. Now, game week 33 again. If you look on the screen, I would have 7 doublers. So I've got the double Arsenal defense. And like I said to you earlier on, I could use one of my transfers and have Saka to have the triple Arsenal. And then I've got the triple Crystal Palace, who again, double. And then I've got the double City. So this gives me 7 doublers without even using any transfers. And if I calculated it, I would have 3 free transfers, which could allow me to bring this up to 10 doublers, which is excellent. So this is the thinking with this wildcard team here. There's still a couple of tweaks, a couple of players like I spoke about earlier on, Milenkovic or a Rodgers instead of a Kluivert to expand the doublers, really go for it there. And Palmer, like I said, don't go with him now and use the money elsewhere. And then upgrade a Murphy to like a Gordon for the double, which is a superior player to Murphy. So there's a lot of potential there. So it's all about trying to get the best balance, because you don't want to go so heavy on the doublers and the game weeks in between, 31, 32 and stuff, the rest of your squad is very weak. Yes, you have great doublers, but the rest of your squad is just not good enough. So you're trying to find that right balance, and it's very difficult until you start playing around with it. And I definitely encourage you to. And this is the right time for you to get into my comments to let me know what you think about my wildcard team. Think it's any good? What changes would you make? Give me an idea what your wildcard team looks like, because as I said, mine, I'm still working on this, but I'm more than happy with the majority of the team here. One of the advantages of using a wildcard in game week 30 is, if you're like me and have someone like Haaland who's very expensive and might be out for some time, you could wildcard and put that money into other positions. And it also saves you taking a hit -4, which I would have to do the minimum to rectify team while removing Haaland. Another advantage is you get to triple up on players like Crystal Palace against Southampton, which is a gorgeous fixture, a lovely fixture to attack. Most of your opponents in the mini leagues won't have that. They will be jumping on the week after, so you're 1 week ahead of them. Because I can assure you, a lot of teams in your mini leagues will be going in on Crystal Palace. So that's 2 advantages right there. One of the disadvantages is you have less information. People that wildcard in game week 31 or maybe 32 will have much more information. What I mean by that is, they get their confirmed fixtures. At the moment, we're going on projections. Like I said, they're pretty solid projections, but still, the Premier League hasn't confirmed it. So you get the full confirmation, just in case something strange happens of where they reschedule the games. The second part is you get much more information. What if Haaland is fit? He might miss game week 30, but what if he's fit for 31? You might prefer him to Marmoush. So that's another thing, just more information. Just by delaying it 1 week, a lot can happen. So that's just 2 advantages there, just waiting. So all of this, of course, is team dependent. In my situation, I am seriously considering it. I'm going to wait until I get a bit more information on Haaland. And if he looks like he is out, I think I might just activate it and go for it. And the last thing you need to know before the upcoming deadline is to do with captaincy. Now, this game week here, there's a couple of options, but we need to know who is the best captain for game week 30. Looking through the fixtures, we're going to run through them and see where the best captains are. So Arsenal versus Fulham, I don't think there's a captain there. Wolves versus West Ham, nah. Nottingham Forest versus Man United, no chance. Bournemouth versus Ipswich, possibly. Brighton versus Aston Villa, no. Manchester City versus Leicester. Now, this is a fixture that's predicted a lot of goals. We're definitely going to want a captain from this team. Newcastle versus Brentford, again, another fixture predicted goals, and we definitely want a captain from here. Southampton versus Crystal Palace is a good fixture, but I think there might be better alternatives than a Crystal Palace player. Liverpool versus Everton, 100% we know who the captain from there is. And lastly, Chelsea versus Spurs, potential for goals in this game, but I don't think the confidence is there with Palmer. So let me give you my third choice for captaincy, and that is Isak. The man is having an outstanding season, one of the heroes from the Carabao Cup final. Look at the stats on here, you can see he ticks a lot of the boxes, the penalties, the form. He's just having a great season, the double-digit returns, everything is there. More importantly, the fixture. Brentford at home is a gorgeous fixture. Now, also, you might be thinking Newcastle are on the beach. They've just won their first major trophy for 70 years. No chance. They will be powering through and looking to finish the season super strong, because Champions League football, which would really make the season a special one, is within sight. So they will be going full power. There's no letting off here. Eddie Howe is not going to allow it. So there's going to be goals in this fixture. And whenever there's goals, Isak's always involved. As you can see, he's predicted near 7 points. So if you captain him, that's 14 already for you there. So it's a good return instantaneously. And Newcastle are predicted more than 2 goals. So it's one of the fixtures that looks like it's going to generate goals. And when there's goals, Isak is involved. So he's my third favourite for captaincy. My second favourite is Omar Marmoush. Now, he's recently just joined the league. He looks very, very good. So his statistics might not look great. You have to bear that in mind. He's only realistically played 7 games. Now, he's in here because of the Haaland injury. And more importantly, that fixture. This fixture has huge potential. And as you can see at the bottom, Manchester City are predicted to score 3 or more goals. And if he's going to play up front, like you saw against Bournemouth when Haaland got injured, the potential for returns is there. And that's amplified by when you look at, he's only had 2 returns from the 7 games in the Prem. But both of those returns were double-digit returns. So the volume and potential is good, and you need that when you're looking at a captain. I'm not sure if he's taken penalties, hence why the question mark is there. We've not had that scenario when the Man City's got a penalty and Haaland's not been on a pitch and Marmoush has. So that's something, but you never know. He could be the penalty taker, which makes him even more appealing. And the favourite captain for game week 30 is, oh, surprise, surprise, the king, Mohamed Salah. There's not even point looking at his statistics. I mean, when I was compiling these, I just laughed. The returns are ridiculous. And it's easier for me to say, he's only blanked 4 times this season. I mean, there's never been a more consistent FPL asset, a record-breaking season with a good Everton fixture, especially as Liverpool are going to want revenge after what felt like a loss against Everton in the last time they played. The double-digit returns is 17 for Salah. It's ridiculous. He's predicted 8-point-something points, and Liverpool predicted to score over 2 goals. And you know his return rate for Liverpool is near 60%. So when Liverpool score, he's more than likely got the goal or the assist. So you can see why he's the favourite captain for this game week. Now, I will say this. I did have another captain which was going to be first place, and it's the Terminator, Haaland. Now, unfortunately, he's picked up the injury, which means I cannot make him in this list. If he is fully fit and he looks like he's going to play 90 minutes, he would have been my favourite. Yes, all the stuff I said a minute ago about Mohamed Salah is the truth. He is relentless and I expect him to return. But I did expect Haaland against Leicester. This matchup is incredible. I would expect him at least a hat-trick minimum. Now, you might laugh when you hear me say this, but if you saw against Bournemouth, who are a far superior team than Leicester, even at their home ground, and Bournemouth are flying this season, Haaland literally could have gotten a hat-trick within 25 minutes. It tells you if things go his way, and against Leicester, I'm anticipating it to go his way, but unfortunately, the injury has ruined things. And it would have made the game week very, very spicy, as a lot would have gone Mohamed Salah and some would have gone Haaland. But unfortunately now, with him being injured and looking very unlikely, I will say this, let's wait till we get some information, but it doesn't look good. So that's why I put him in here, is just now, just in case he is fit, I would have him as my favourite, okay? But anyway, that's my captaincies. Get in the comments and let me know who you're captaining this game week. I hope you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, I hope you found the video useful. Do me a favor, get in the comments and let me know who you're captaining this game week. Now, before you jump off to the next video, like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach my next milestone and I can only do that with your help. So I'd really appreciate any support I can get from you. And the last thing I'm going to say is get those notifications on. I run a weekly competition on my deadline streams, incredible prizes. You're going to want to be involved. So get the notifications on and I'll see you on the next deadline stream.